One question NASA has constantly asked SpaceX about the Dragon would be about its durability and reusability. How long until the ultra-modern space capsule starts to break down? How many launches can it perform before it expires? How much heat can it push away from itself before whatever and whoever is inside starts to melt? Well, a few astronauts have come out to provide answers to some of these questions. Welcome to the Space Minds channel, and in today's video we'll review these answers provided by the astronauts and go into more detail about the Dragon's durability. While you're here, it would be great if you could hit that like button, share it with your friends and subscribe to Space Minds. That way I can keep you up to date with all the latest space news and adventures. Jared Isaacman on the Dragon. Billionaire entrepreneur and philanthropist Jared Isaacman came out to publicly respond to questions on the durability of the Dragon capsule. Speaking on behalf of SpaceX, Isaacman said that before its next launch, the Dragon capsule would only require minimal adjustments just to suit the missions it would undergo. To be more specific, Isaacman was speaking about a Dragon capsule named Resilience, which he and 3 others used in the 2024 Polaris Dawn mission, the second of 3 missions in SpaceX's Polaris project. Aside from numerous scientific experiments achieved by the Polaris Dawn space trip, it also served to test the Dragon's abilities as a reusable space shuttle. Quite literally, you could say that they were testing the resilience of the resilience. Anyway, the White Dragon vehicle used in Isaacman's Polaris Dawn mission was able to climb a staggering 434 miles above Earth. While this might not seem like a big deal to you, you might want to check out how far the ISS is from Earth, just 250 miles. Considering how far the Dragon vehicle was able to go from Earth without losing pressure or folding into itself as was feared, NASA was quite thrilled at the achievement, describing it as another giant leap for mankind. You should remember Neil Armstrong's famous words on landing on the moon. Isaacman's comment about the resilience requiring a bit of repair might be an indirect reference to the amount of heat the spacecraft had to endure in its re-entry. As the capsule dipped nose first into Earth's atmosphere, it caused the usual exterior burn that is expected during re-entries. However, considering the height from which its return trip started from, the speed with which it came with and the burn weren't totally casual. By the time the ship was fully within Earth's atmosphere on September 15, 2024, it had a blazing speed of over 17,000 miles per hour. With the outer temperature just hitting 1900 degrees Celsius, the ship started to glow with a mix of colors. A few kilometers above Earth, the parachute shot into the air, slowing the spacecraft as it came to rest on the Gulf of Mexico. While the 4-man crew within the shuttle were all safe after the splashdown, analysis of the shuttle revealed a few unsettling pieces of news. For one thing, a large number of its heat shield plates had come off during re-entry, and some others had suffered structural disintegration due to the burn and splashdown. Aside this, the spacecraft was scarred with browns and yellows due to the burn. This pretty much adds another layer to the question of Dragon's reusability. One of Mr. Isaacman's suggested adjustments for the Dragon might be new body painting, heat shield, or the change in a paint mix. Think of an anti-flame paint if that's possible. Garrett Reisman on the Dragon. Former NASA astronaut and special advisor to SpaceX Garrett Reisman also gave words on the company's Dragon and its abilities. Though Reisman has never been on a crewed Dragon launch, his ties with the space company and friends like NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley gave him a good opportunity to analyze the craft. Reisman had worked with SpaceX on the development of the Dragon, and despite having resigned in 2018 to become a professor at the University of Southern California, he still had a green card to witness the ship's first crewed mission in 2020. Reisman watched the Dragon launch several times in the last 4 years. He commented that the Dragon seems to have a not-so-serious life cycle issue, as after its 3rd, 4th and 5th uses, one might start to notice it break down. Now, this would have been a big problem, except when you realize that SpaceX initially designed the Dragon for 5 launches before it expired. NASA also approved the Dragon for a maximum of 5 launches. Still, SpaceX decided to take up a project of extending the mission life of the Dragon craft, and NASA is looking at placing it to 15 missions before any Dragon capsule is finally torn into pieces. While it would be possible to increase the Dragon's lifespan to around a few more flights, 15 isn't really an easy number. There is the question of the financial cost to be incurred, and still we don't know how much space itself bleaches off the lifespan and structural integrity of spacecraft that have been launched into it. Reisman's statement, as well as the damages sustained after the re-entry, calls SpaceX to make a few adjustments to the Dragon. Let's see some of them. Dragon back at the workshop. With comments like that of Jared Isaacman and Garrett Reisman, SpaceX has decided to make a few adjustments to the Dragon, especially so it's durable enough for NASA's planned 15-year lifespan. While some of these adjustments may not seem elaborate, they all add significantly to the stylishness and strength of the shuttle, two things the space company prioritizes in all of its spacecraft and rockets. New landing system. One of the key things that upset SpaceX and its owner Elon Musk about splashdowns is how they degrade the rockets and shuttles, often causing them to lose a significant part of their form and structure. The Dragon capsules in this case had to undergo a really long period of repairs before they were allowed for new flights. Aside the time lost to repairs, the financial cost incurred also placed a toll on the space company. SpaceX knew they had to do something about the landings. With the cool landing technique the Super Heavy boosters got, we could call SpaceX the king of landings in the space market. And with Dragon's new landing maneuver, SpaceX wowed the world. Aside the traditional parachute landing method, the Dragon has now been equipped with Super Draco engines that would automatically fire up kilometers above the Earth to land the craft quite softly on solid land. To make it all better, this would significantly reduce the force of the impact landing, and even if the Dragon makes a splashdown, it would be with ease, nothing violent. The new landing scheme also gives it the ability to land on the ground rather than in oceans, thus reducing rust tendencies and structural distortions that follow a splashdown. And the style it adds, let's just call it futuristic. Companies like Blue Origin and Boeing are still way behind, but Sierra Space can achieve a much similar landing feat with their Dream Chaser. Shielding and radiation protection. Another way SpaceX improved the reusability of its Dragon spacecraft was to include a radiation protection system to the spacecraft. The amount of radiation experienced in space does quite the damage to spacecraft, stripping their exterior of atoms. It's a lot like decay, only this time metallic and induced by radiation. Polythene was added to the exterior material for the body of the Dragon, much like an anti-radiation cover. Aside this, the company included a water supply system on the outer body to serve as additional shielding. You heard that right, water. There is also protection against micrometeoroids and space debris. The Dragon's hull is reinforced with a multi-layer shield called Whipple Shield to retain the ship's form when it is struck by small meteoroids in space. Aside this, it has a debris tracking or sensing system that helps track larger debris and allow the spacecraft to perform avoidance maneuvers. Yep, next level tech indeed. Dragon's heat shield. The Dragon's new heat shield is formed from phenolic impregnated carbon ablator, or Pica-X, and is a material much similar to NASA's Pica material, but of course a more advanced brand by SpaceX. The Pica-X works through ablation, which means it burns slowly, but in a controlled manner during re-entry procedures. This burning event removes the heat that comes with the re-entry, thus keeping the shuttle warm but not so hot. Over time, SpaceX refined the Pica-X material to increase its durability and allow for it to be used multiple times without major refurbishment. While the heat shield is not fully reusable, parts of it can be reused after some repair work. The heat shield was used in the Resilient Dragon capsule for the Polaris Dawn mission. The burning away of parts of the heat shield also contributed to the browns and yellows that were seen on the capsule when it was recovered. Autonomous docking. The Dragon's autonomous docking ability is also an advancement for its increased durability and reusability. This allows the ship to easily lock into and dock on the ISS without requiring manual assistance and also without any imperfections with the dock. An error with the docking might compromise the ship, sometimes going as far as destroying it, and so the new docking system reduces the need for long-term repairs after sustained mechanical injuries from an erroneous docking attempt. Conclusion: with the adjustments made to the Dragon capsules, they could actually get the planned expiry flight count of 15. Still, it would come with a few more tests to assure credibility and worthiness of the flight count. Personally, I believe SpaceX can pull it off easily. That the space company takes notes of the recommendations made by astronauts and uses these recommendations to do better on their space vehicles places the company several steps ahead of its competitors and makes it several years more advanced all the time. With that, we've come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, click the like button and don't forget to share it with your friends for the latest updates on our space news, adventures, and while you're here, make sure to subscribe to Space Minds.